Well, hello, my little space puppies. I have some fun things to do today, um, and I'm celebrating. But I'm going to draw up some charts that will really help you along your way in doing charts. There was something that mystified me for 20 years, and the answer was right in front of me the whole time. I've done thousands of charts, and I would really read and go to other astrologers when I hit one of these charts that confused me. And I never got my answer. I'm going to start off today by drawing up Hitler's chart. Want to show you the natural wheel first. Here we have the astrological wheel. And it would be good for you to do this with your own chart as opposed to looking off of computer generated um, chart. Just draw them up so you get a totally different feel when you do it by hand. This is your first house. You hear about this all the time. Your ascendant, your first house, who you are, and you can do a whole lecture, a whole book on the first house. It's the most important. This is you. That's the best way to put it. The fourth house, we'll be looking at the angles today. The first house, and then their angular houses are first, fourth, seventh, and 10th. So here is the ruler of the first house. It's Mars. The sign associated with Mars is Aries. The cusp is the fourth house, ruled by the moon, La Luna, and next is the seventh house. And this rules your partners. When you want to know about who you are, what you look like, and everything about you, or your home, this is where you live, the fourth house. The seventh house is your main partners. That's the seventh house. And the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn. These are your cardinal or angular signs. So we have first house, fourth house, seventh house, 10th house. First house ruled by Aries, fourth house by Cancer, seventh house by Libra. Here's a sign for Libra. There's my beautiful little Venus. And the 10th house is Capricorn. Make sure you have a good picture of Capricorn. Here's the glyph for Capricorn, and here is Saturn. What happens if the angular houses are switched around? What you end up with an upside down natural wheel. Usually Aries is here. So what happens if you have Libra rising? It's going to put Aries here. If you have Capricorn here and Cancer here, everything's turned around. If you will remember, you start off with Aries on the ascendant. So when you have a chart that's more upside down, basically, north is north and south is south. And if it's different or turned upside down, like this, normally this would be Aries, this would be Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. Here is Libra rising. Remember our natural chart? If you were to turn this upside down, the natural rising sign would be Aries. So this is an upside down chart. Many people have, this would be all angles on angular cusps. but they're out of order. It's more or less upside down. Uh, it works that way for all the angular planets if they show up on the opposite angles. Here we have here the others kind of fall into place because the fourth house cusp is ruled by is Aquarius. Normally this would be Cancer house, but Aquarius is okay. The thing about this is one of my discoveries. One was chart is upside down. People have such problems with relationships. They never get it straight. And I don't think I've ever met a Libra rising that had been married for a long time. I can't even remember. I kept saying, what is the deal? Libra is supposed to be the sign of partnership where everybody's harmonious. And there's nothing more charming than Libras. If you were to miss popularity, would be Libra of the zodiac. Here is another thing of mine, because let me tell you, I have worked on some of these things, and I'm like, how come it's one way and then it works so perfect and it's not? And I would see the Libra rising. I know they like art, music. Hitler liked art, if you remember correctly. He wanted to be an artist, and he wished he had. I'm going to tell you, all of Libra rising should be into music and art, or else they end up all screwed up. And do not get married. So I don't know if Hitler was ever married. He had a partner, Eva von Braun or Bluen, who was faithful, but she was a Nazi, and she died in a bunker with Hitler when they committed suicide, so they say. Look here, this was another one that I first got wind of this when I looked at Queen Elizabeth's chart. She had her Venus at 13 degrees of Pisces. That's when I started to put it together. And you can go back and look at Queen Elizabeth's chart that explains why the number 13 is bad. Two numbers that show up that are bad are 4 and 13. 4 is the same as 13. 1 plus 3 is 4. They're the same thing. They do not bode well. Can you have a number 13 in your chart? Oh, of course you can. It's not good to be afraid of numbers. And these numbers came upon their significant meanings for a reason. People noticed. So I don't want to do a complete analysis of Hitler, but those two things, well, here we go. Fourth house, and Saturn, your most elevated planet, and Libra, upside down chart. And you remember I showed you that a natural chart should be the other way. And the way it works out, well, I'll have to go into that a little later on. You might not have an angle on your angle, more or less, but you might have Scorpio or, anything. And it's okay, and it has to do with the relationship to the natural chart. Here is a quick review of a chart I did earlier. Richard Speck, who killed, I think it was 6 or 8 nurses, and it's a sad but interesting story, a good view into a murderer's chart. Here you're going to see where things are all in the wrong placement, and go back and look at my Richard Speck analysis. There's here you go, Venus rising. Problems with relationships. As I was looking, all these people should be artists. They're frustrated artists, and they do bad things. And we just had Hitler. with Libra rising, but this chart is actually worse. If you can imagine, here is the sun in Sagittarius. The thing is, you're going to see where everything's in the wrong houses. Sagittarius belongs up here in the 9th house. But here it is. Sagittarius is in its opposite sign at 13. There you go. And I went over this a lot earlier, but I want to make a few points here. Everything's in its opposite sign. Mars is very happy in Aries, but it's in the opposite house that it rules. It should be over here in the 1st house. It could be anywhere, but here is the worst place for it. And partnership problems all over the place. Here you have everything in their opposite houses. This is Gemini planets. Gemini planets belong down here. And Sagittarius planets belong up here or anywhere, but they're opposite sign. The moon is in Cancer. The moon is happy in Cancer. It's ruled by Cancer. Where is it? Moon normally should be here in Cancer, in the 4th house. Here it is in the 10th house, the opposite. So everything is, and that goes for these guys here in the 11th house, whereas these are 5th house planets. Oh, by the way, Richard Speck and Adolf Hitler had some what's called trines, which bring good luck. So that's what confused me about Richard Speck and some of these other charts, Hitler, was what went wrong. And I'm telling you, it's like 30 years to figure this out. Now, when you first start out with astrology, you learn these things right away. Some things are in their detriment, some things are elevated, and but I didn't know how important it was. I would more or less skip over it. I would see Venus rising. I could think, oh, an artist, interior design, singer. Now, this person was naturally could sing, play guitar, a fantastic pianist, and everything went wrong in her life. She ended up in an insane asylum and hooked on drugs. It was a terrible tragedy. Why couldn't I help her out? She had a lot of trines, which are considered good. I would look at other people's charts and be so jealous they'd have these great trines, and I didn't understand. And now I do. Here we have the sun is in Virgo. Okay, Virgo, the natural ruler of Virgo is over here in the 6th house. So it's Virgo in the wrong house, an upside down configuration. You have every single planet in the opposite sign. Trust me, this could be a Libra rising, but the sun could be someplace else, like over here. Same thing here. These guys are happy in, no, wait a minute, I'm sorry. These guys are, no, they're unhappy, sorry. This is the Aries house. So you have Libra. Here you have a Taurus house, and here's a bunch of Scorpio planets. Here we have, like Richard Speck, Sagittarius in the opposite house that it rules. The moon is kind of okay here. And so here is the midheaven where you're going, and it's in Cancer. And let me see, I think I pointed these guys out. This person was a natural born artist, piano player, and everything else. She got married right away. Well, she got pregnant, then got married, and then got married and didn't get married, and I couldn't keep up with it. but she ended up quite crazy from it. And it was her relationships. And I'll tell you another thing, and you start to look for this. Her Venus is squares Mars. That means these two planets that rule this sign and this sign are squared. They're unhappy. They're not going to get along. They're in the wrong houses, the wrong signs, and they're squared each other. There were some other interesting things in this chart that ended being this woman's undoing, and it was a terrible tragedy. And I wonder why I couldn't find some help for her. Same thing, same analysis. Be an artist. Do not get married. Libra rising, they're definitely married before they're 20. If sometimes pregnant, but they just get married almost immediately. But you say, oh, Venus loves partnership. No, not in this case. Not this way. They get married right away, and before they leave this planet, they will be married 3 times, guaranteed. And this is one of the most interesting charts. She did study astrology. She was brilliant. But I need to do a detailed thing. I want to show you an overview. Another good overview is, hold on, I'll show you. My camera could cut out in the next minute, and I've only just begun. I will post the link to the second part of this. I just don't have much gas in the tank on my camera. Here we have. I want you to look here. When this side of the chart